Okay, well, today we're gonna have, I'm gonna cook up some steak on the broiler. I didn't get a chance to do any grocery shopping, spaced it. I do have some onions, I have garlic, I do have a can of crushed tomatoes. So I think I'm going to do steak tips in a tomato garlic sauce. And I actually have some cheese. I might even do kind of like a, well, not so much a Parmesan, but maybe put a little bit of melted cheese on top of the dish, put it into the broiler afterwards. But before I do that, I was creating quite a bit of smoke. And because I am grilling on the broiler, over time, it's going to get dirty. And as much as you want to just burn it off, it's not going to happen. You're going to have to clean it. So it's best to do it when it's not hot, but in this case we want to get going, so I'm going to clean it. It's not going to take much. Very good. You want to make sure you have pot holders at all times, but I brought up some steak and cheeses the first night I was here, and I left my pot holders upstairs. But in this case, just cool it down a little bit with some water. Easily just break off some of that gunk. Alright? Turn it upside down. Alright. Okay. That's clean. Don't worry about drying it off. It's going to dry off in about 2 seconds. So get it back in there. I usually like to have my rack up on the top. Cooks it fast. You got to make sure you've got your eye on it at all times. You can't walk away if the phone rings. If you can't keep your attention, put the rack a little bit lower. It's going to take a little bit longer, but you have more flexibility of getting to it should you start to burn the house down. Another key thing to broiling, if you're not going to use aluminum foil or another pan, and you prefer to cook right off the grill, or right off the rack, kind of like I do, I make sure I have a catching pan underneath. And that's pretty easy. Basically, just one of these pans. Okay? I should probably, I'm gonna wash this out. Alright. 2 seconds. Put that right underneath. Alright, here we go. Alright, so let's get the steak out. And so what I've done is I've actually, let me shut the door here. As you know, I mean, quarters is pretty tight. I do have a flat top here. You can see it, okay? Flat top. The only problem is no exhaust fan. That's why I'm using the grill. But we can still warm things up. We can still cook things on the flat top. That's not going to cause a lot of issues. So, alright, so what I've done is I've gone out and I purchased some chicken. I purchased steak. And I purchased hamburger. I've already used all the hamburger, but what I did for the chicken is I had the family pack of chicken breasts, family pack of chicken steak tips, and I just cut those up into small little portions, put them into a Ziploc bag, and threw them in the freezer. And don't worry about the grade of plastic for your Ziploc bags. I mean, basically this is based on living on your own, staying home and eating. You're not going to buy 30 pounds of beef where you're not going to get to it. You're basically buying, a family pack, where at least enough where you're going to see some savings. And I've got them all Ziplocked up. And I pulled out steak out of the fridge or out of the freezer yesterday. I discovered my defroster in my microwave doesn't work. So, and if you try to defrost something on cook, forget about it. You're going to cook all the ends. It's not worth it. Alright. Let's see. Everything I need. Alright. I'm going to pull out Ziploc. Alright. Have some steak tips marinating in here. Once again, it was a very simple technique where I put some olive oil or vegetable oil will work. I bought a packet of taco seasoning. Rather than trying to, select what spices I wanted to put in, I just bought a, a pre-packaged flavoring. The only thing you got to worry about that is sodium. Some of the other things they put into the packaging to preserve it. Usually, you've got salt, pepper, garlic powder. If you like oregano, Italian, oregano, some rosemary, thyme. You can do whatever you want, but if you want to make it simple, you feel like, I love tacos, so that's what I got. I've got some Cracker Barrel cheese here. Looks like extra sharp. Love that. Compliments of my sister. Came up for the football game. Left these with some crackers. Haven't used the crackers with that. I made peanut butter and jelly sandwiches with the crackers last night, so I don't think they'll ever be introduced to the cheese. Okay, now I also have an onion. It's always good to have an onion on hand. A little bit of oil in case I need it. Old Bay seasoning. Sorry about the lighting. I can't get the lighting right on this, but there we go. That's a little better, right? Old Bay. Toilet paper with the seasonings. That's the work of my organizational skills. Alright, what else do I need? Alright, well, part of this show is, okay, we've got the ingredients, but what do we have for utensils, right? Okay, you open the drawers, we've got spoons, we have knives, we have forks, so we have a butter knife, we have various steak knives. Steak knives are good because they have a serrated edge, and if you don't have a good knife set, that sharp serrated knives, or bread knives, they work wonders. They'll cut through anything. They stay sharp for a long time, and they're real easy to work with. They're generally a little longer than a steak knife, with a bigger handle. You've seen them, probably about an inch thick in blade. Very good. I've got scissors, can opener I'll need for the tomatoes. I've got a paring knife. Okay. I've got a whisk, some spatulas. I've got tongs. We've all seen these, right? Yeah, pretty cheesy. 1970s, but they work. Alright. Now, you might look through, your utensils, see what you have. You might have knives, and you're like, well, I don't have a good knife. I have all these unusual knives, and I'm just not comfortable. Well, I say bullshit to that, because this is an unusual knife, and this is what I have to use. And for the crazy guys out there, yes, this is a Jungle Master hunting knife. Bought it online, more or less for shits and giggles, because it was $10. I was like, holy shit, Rambo knife. But I have that. It's pretty sharp, so I've got that to use. So you can pretty much use whatever you want, but just use what's comfortable. Like again, steak knife, probably one of the most comfortable comfortable knives anybody has ever used, because we've all eaten with steak knives. So use it. Okay. All right. So tomato sauce. Picked up some crushed tomatoes at the local store. Okay, it's a big can. I'm not going to eat those all tonight. Or not eat those, but I'm not going to consume the entire can, so I do have some Tupperware that I can put it in. Alright. Smells good. Tastes good. Okay. You want to make sure you have a rag, and sorry for licking my fingers. I'll try not to do that. Okay. So, we do need a pot of some sort. I've got this old pot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut up some onion, some garlic. I'm going to saute it in this pot, and then I'm going to put the crushed tomatoes in there. I'm going to kind of make a little pasta sauce, just a little bit of sauce later to kind of saute in with my cooked steak. So that's going to take a minute. I will need a frying pan at some point. Okay, let's just get the onion prepped up. So basically I've got the broiler going. I've got it set to high. Maybe I'll put it on low for now. Okay, low, because I'm not ready to use it yet, and I'm not entirely convinced I'm going to go with high. So, alright, so let's prep up some onion. We'll get that ready. We'll get some garlic ready. Alright, very easy way to cut an onion. Okay, what you want to do, let me get rid of the Rambo knife. Lighting's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Okay. Until I can get this figured out, what you want to do, if you're going to only save half the onion, or use half the onion, just cut it in half. Put half an onion aside with its skin on. That'll help preserve it. Then you want to cut both of the ends off. Okay. Now you have the outer wrapping. If you want, you can sacrifice a whole ring of onion to easily get rid of that, or you can play with it and try to pull off the least amount of actual usable onion. Alright, so we've got that. So, what am I going to do? Do I feel like chunks today with onions? Do I want very lightly minced? Let's see. What you want to do with an onion? Okay, I'm going to cut it down like this. Right down in half. So now we have 2 onions. Well, 2 halves of an onion. Then we want to slice it. Right down. And I usually don't go all the way to the end. That helps keep the onion in place. Now, depending on how thick you want it, well, that's how thick you want to cut it. If you want to dice, then you cut a little bit thinner. So basically, I'm fanning this out. All the way down. Okay. Now we've got some stragglers here. That's okay. Now we'll cut it this way, width size. And I'm going to cut down. Yeah, these look a little chop. You want to try to keep them as even as possible. That way they cook evenly. And yeah, I'm crying. That's okay though. Alright, so I've got some leftover. I'm going to grab a Ziploc. Ziploc and aluminum foil are your 2 best friends in the kitchen. Alright, so we've got that, okay? Now you want to clean up as you go, right? So let's take some of that. Onion. What's nice about this flat top, it actually can be used as a cutting board. So, perfect. Alright, let's get the garlic out. Alright, I always like to use fresh garlic. Fresh garlic, you can't beat it. You can buy the jars that are already pre-minced or chopped, and they're usually in water or oil. That's fine. But I like to just use my own garlic. But the only problem with this sometimes is you get all the ingredients back home, you're chopping everything up, preparing, and you figure out your garlic's rotten. Happens more than you think. So when you buy it, give it a good thorough look. You know, if you have to break one open, that's fine. Look at it and throw it in the bag. You know, it's not a big deal. The last thing you want to do is go grocery shopping, get home, and you either forget an ingredient or one of the major ingredients is rotten or bad. That happened to me once.